So we've got this one last video in this module. You could end up using this one to help you build your website. Not saying that you won't, not saying that it's a problem if you do, but AI has become a very popular tool because while it might hallucinate a lot of things as a word calculator or not imagine things correctly, it is pretty good at things that are fixed quantities or coding, because those are unchangeable and there is a right, wrong, and there's a limited amount of it that's available. If you are putting this assignment into ChatGPT and say, build a website using these tags, it may work. Now, it's a simple enough website. Hopefully you were following along in the relatively short video and able to create that text file and get it up online. But as long as it works, that's fine. We now see the rise of what is referred to as vibe coding, where you can ask an AI agent to create a website for you nearly whole cloth. You can describe what it does and it will try and create those parameters for you. And if you know enough coding, you'll know that it's invalidated. You can always put it online. Now it still does weird stuff. It does stuff that isn't necessarily the best way, best practices, the cleanest code. A developer may look at it and say like, it doesn't look like you know exactly what you're doing. It might function, it might work. This is redundant, this is excessive, etc. But it will get you to where you need to be. It is oftentimes used for like minimum viable products, MVPs, so that people can create a template website if they don't have those coding skills. It's something that you can try out if you have an app idea. There's lots of platforms that will help you do that or do code. Claude has a version of it. There's other websites that exclusively do that, which will help you build up an app if you describe it and generate the code for you. Now, like with anything that goes through an AI generator of any type, you're gonna wanna check it. You wanna make sure that it works, and you're gonna wanna make sure that it's not gonna harm anything that you might work. One of the places where I do find that it's useful is that if you have HTML that already exists, or you're working with a content management system that's open source, and working with it where you have access to the server and to the file, such as WordPress, which is well documented as well, or you can work with any of the content management systems, that you can bring the code over into AI and say, I want it to do this instead. This is also really useful for just about any cascading style sheet. It will be able to recognize sort of what's happening, and if you ask it something small like that, it can be really useful for that. That is where it as a tool is actually pretty useful. Building something whole cloth, I'm not sure I trust it to do that yet, but we'll see where we get in the next few years. But if you want to make small modifications around styling, around formatting, a way basic functions work, it's actually pretty good at doing that. Similarly, it's pretty good for checking things or being an initial check on things to see why something's not working or to see how you can validate your code. Now, like I said, it has mistakes all the time, but it might be a good first step before you put it in front of somebody. It might be able to identify something that you otherwise are not sure how to be able to fix. It's also good for some web copy, as long as it's not something that is meant to 100% be your creation. Know that it's pulling things from things. It is useful for like grammar corrections, spell check, word count, things like that. And yes, if you are providing it with a description of a project and a long description of something out of a grant or a project proposal, you say that I need a social media format, it is generally able to create text like that. That would be really useful for entering into your website if you need an excerpt or you need something small or something in a different format that gets the core ideas. So it can also be helpful in generating that content, but as with any use of it, make sure that you are verifying the information is correct. If it is at all academic, know that it oftentimes hallucinates things and maybe pulling over academic things that don't exist. Also know that at that point, like thinking about what writing is yours versus it, how much you're allowing it to correct what you're doing versus having it drive is a big difference between what the ethical use of it might be. So ultimately, it's good at a number of things. It's good at perhaps doing an initial validation, checking for errors. It's good for writing alt text. If you have an image and you want it to describe it and you want it in that short container, sometimes people, it's best practices to start including those as well. It can give you a decent starting skeleton. It can look at style sheets and help you be able to modify them in small ways that get you closer to what you actually want it to do. It can do a lot of those small tasks really well. There are a number of things that it's also not very good at, right? You don't want it to do anything or trust it to do like random number generation or to push out like the randomization for a content delivery network. If you don't know what those things are, don't worry about it, but don't use AI or trust AI 100% to do that without checking. Don't vibe without verifying. That's the model that we'll sort of wrap up on today. So it is a completely valid way to do things if you're cool with using AI. Code, luckily, is, especially around open source systems, is available for you to use. It hypothetically is an ethical use of AI and a tool that is useful. Knowing that, lots of people who have done development work also then go online and have historically asked questions of other people when there's something that they didn't know how to do. You might not know how to do something, you might need a little bit of assistance. And AI is one of the tools that will help you do that. Along with going and Googling, going onto Stack Exchange and other places, if there is a thing that you're trying to code and you're not able to do it, usually someone's out there to help you, has a snippet, can validate and look at it, and AI becomes a tool that allows you to do that locally where you're not waiting for a response. And I'd say use all of those and definitely test, whenever you're developing technology. There is no test this week, no quiz this week. There's no more quizzes for the rest of the class. Our assignment for this week, follow along with those first couple of videos, write your HTML, get it online, and you'll be all good. But make sure that you test that website as well. I will see you in the next module.